At 24 years old, Daniel Parker had already heard the word no 17 times. 17 interviews, 17 rejections, 17 moments that made him question whether he would ever succeed. One company even told him he wasn't the right fit. But 5 years later, that same company came back asking for his help. How did a struggling job seeker become the man successful companies depended on? This is Daniel's story. On a cold October morning in Chicago, the sky hung low with dark gray clouds. The streets were crowded with people rushing to work. Cars filled the roads. Coffee shops buzzed with conversation. Everyone seemed to be heading somewhere. Everyone except Daniel Parker. 24-year-old Daniel sat alone on a metal bench outside a downtown office building. He wore his only suit, a navy blue suit he had bought 2 years earlier for his college graduation. The sleeves were slightly worn. The collar had begun to fade. His hands trembled as he looked down at a folder containing his resume. Inside the building, an interview panel was discussing his future, or at least that was what Daniel hoped. He had graduated from college 8 months ago with a degree in business administration. During graduation, he had imagined this moment very differently. He had imagined walking into a company, impressing the interviewers, receiving a job offer, and finally helping his mother with bills. Instead, reality had become a painful cycle. Apply, wait, interview, rejection, repeat. The glass doors opened. A woman in a gray blazer stepped outside. "Daniel Parker?" Daniel immediately stood up. "Yes, ma'am." The woman gave a polite smile. "We appreciate your interest in our company. Unfortunately, we've decided to move forward with candidates whose experience more closely matches our requirements." Daniel's heart sank. Again. Another rejection. He forced a smile. "Thank you for your time." The woman nodded and walked away. Daniel remained standing on the sidewalk as people hurried around him. Nobody noticed the disappointment in his eyes. Nobody noticed the dreams slowly breaking inside him. That evening, he returned to the small apartment he shared with his mother on the south side of the city. The apartment was old. The wallpaper was peeling. The kitchen faucet leaked constantly. The refrigerator made strange noises during the night, yet his mother always managed to keep the place clean. She was standing at the stove when Daniel entered. The smell of chicken soup filled the room. She immediately recognized the expression on his face. "No luck?" she asked softly. Daniel shook his head. His mother walked over and squeezed his shoulder. "It's only one interview." Daniel laughed bitterly. "No, Mom, it's not one interview." He looked down at the floor. "It's 7. The room fell silent. 7 interviews, 7 rejections, 7 reminders that he wasn't good enough. That night, Daniel lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Outside, rain tapped against the window. Inside, doubt whispered inside his mind. Maybe employers were right. Maybe he wasn't special. Maybe he wasn't talented. Maybe his degree meant nothing. For the first time since graduation, Daniel considered giving up. But what happened 3 days later would change everything, and it would begin with an envelope waiting in his mailbox. 3 days later, Daniel walked slowly toward the apartment building after another unsuccessful job hunt. The autumn wind pushed dried leaves across the sidewalk. His shoulders felt heavier than ever. As he opened the rusty mailbox near the entrance, he noticed a white envelope resting inside. It carried the logo of a company called Harrison and Blake Consulting. Daniel immediately recognized the name. 2 weeks earlier, he had interviewed there. His heart began pounding. For a moment, hope returned. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was the opportunity he had been waiting for. He hurried upstairs, took a seat at the small kitchen table, and carefully opened the envelope. His mother stood nearby, watching silently. Daniel unfolded the letter. His eyes moved across the page. Then his face fell. "We regret to inform you." He stopped reading. The familiar words felt like a knife twisting deeper into an already wounded heart. Another rejection. Number 8. His mother slowly sat beside him. "I'm sorry." Daniel laughed quietly, but there was no happiness in it. 8 times, Mom." His voice cracked. 8 different companies looked at me and decided I wasn't worth hiring. His mother reached for his hand. "Daniel, one day someone will see your value." But Daniel was no longer sure that day would ever come. The following weeks became even harder. Every morning he woke before sunrise. Every morning he searched online job boards. Every morning he adjusted his resume, rewrote cover letters, and submitted new applications. And every evening he waited. Sometimes companies never replied. Sometimes they rejected him within hours. The silence hurt almost as much as the rejection. Meanwhile, bills continued arriving. Rent, electricity, internet, insurance. His mother worked long hours at a neighborhood grocery store, but her income barely covered expenses. One evening, Daniel overheard her speaking on the phone. She thought he was asleep. "I'll pay next week," she told someone. "Please don't shut it off yet." Daniel knew she was talking about the electricity bill. His stomach tightened. The woman who had sacrificed everything to raise him was now struggling because he couldn't find a job. The next morning, he made a decision. He couldn't sit at home waiting anymore. If nobody would hire him for a professional position, he would take whatever work he could find. Within days, Daniel started working at a warehouse on the edge of the city. The job was physically exhausting. 10 hours a day, heavy boxes, cold storage rooms, aching muscles. Most of his co-workers had never attended college. Some wondered why a university graduate was working beside them. At first, Daniel felt embarrassed, but then he noticed something. Many of the workers were incredibly hardworking. They showed up every day regardless of weather, injuries, or personal problems. They never complained. They simply kept moving forward. One afternoon during lunch break, an older worker named Mike sat beside him. Mike had worked in the warehouse for nearly 30 years. "You look disappointed every day, kid," Mike said. Daniel smiled weakly. "I thought my life would be different." Mike nodded. "Mine too." Daniel looked surprised. "You?" Mike chuckled. "When I was your age, I thought I'd be running a company by now." "So what happened?" Mike took a sip of coffee. "Life happened." Daniel expected bitterness. Instead, he saw peace in the older man's eyes. Mike pointed toward the warehouse floor. "See all those people?" Daniel nodded. "Every one of them has a story. Some failed. Some got rejected. Some lost everything. But the people who eventually succeed aren't always the smartest." He leaned closer. "They're usually the ones who refuse to quit." The words stayed with Daniel long after the conversation ended. That night, he opened a fresh notebook. On the first page, he wrote 4 words: "Lessons from rejection." Underneath he wrote, "Rejection number 1, improve confidence. Rejection number 2, improve communication. Rejection number 3, learn more about industry trends. Rejection number 4, practice interviews." For the first time, he stopped seeing rejection as proof of failure. Instead, he began treating every rejection as a lesson. What Daniel didn't know was that this simple notebook was about to change the course of his entire future. Because 6 months later, one interview would lead to a meeting he would never forget. Winter arrived in Chicago with freezing winds and endless gray skies. Snow covered sidewalks and rooftops. The city looked beautiful from a distance, but for Daniel Parker, the season felt colder than ever. 6 months had passed since he started working at the warehouse. During the day, he lifted boxes and loaded trucks. At night, he studied. While others watched television or relaxed after work, Daniel sat at the small kitchen table with his notebook. Lessons from rejection. The notebook had become thicker. The pages were filled with observations, mistakes, and improvements. He practiced interview questions. He watched free online courses. He improved his speaking skills. He learned business software. He studied leadership and communication. Slowly, he became a stronger candidate. Yet the rejections continued. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Each rejection hurt. But unlike before, it no longer destroyed him. Then came interview number 17. A company called Summit Business Solutions invited him to meet their hiring team. The company occupied 3 floors of a modern glass building overlooking the Chicago River. Everything about the place looked successful. Employees walked confidently through the lobby. Large screens displayed company achievements. The atmosphere felt professional and exciting. Daniel arrived 30 minutes early. He sat in the waiting area reviewing notes. His palms were sweaty. His heart raced. But he felt prepared, more prepared than ever before. Soon, a receptionist guided him into a conference room. 3 interviewers sat across the table. The questions began. Daniel answered carefully. He spoke with confidence. He described his education, his warehouse experience, the skills he had developed, the challenges he had overcome. For nearly an hour, the conversation flowed smoothly. As the interview ended, one of the managers smiled. "Thank you, Daniel. We'll be in touch soon." Walking out of the building, Daniel felt hopeful. For the first time in months, he truly believed he might receive good news. 3 days later, his phone rang. The caller ID displayed Summit Business Solutions. Daniel quickly answered. "Hello? This is Daniel." A polite voice spoke. "Daniel, we appreciate your time and effort. Unfortunately, we've decided to move forward with another candidate." For a moment, the world seemed to stop. 17 rejections. 17 doors closed. After everything he had done. After everything he had learned. Still not enough. He thanked the caller and ended the conversation. Then he sat silently on the edge of his bed. The room felt smaller. The future felt darker. Maybe this was his limit. Maybe he was chasing something that would never happen. That evening, as snow fell outside his apartment window, Daniel seriously considered giving up. No more applications. No more interviews. No more disappointment. Just work at the warehouse and accept reality. The next morning, he forced himself to go to work. His body moved. His mind didn't. Every box felt heavier. Every hour felt longer. Around lunchtime, his phone vibrated. A new email notification appeared. The sender surprised him. It was from Summit Business Solutions. Daniel almost deleted it without reading, but something made him open it. Inside was a short message. "Daniel, I know this may be unusual, but I'd like to meet you for coffee this afternoon. Not regarding the position, just a conversation. If you're interested, here's the address. Regards, Robert Collins." Senior hiring manager Daniel stared at the screen. Why would a hiring manager want to meet someone they had just rejected? Curiosity overcame disappointment. That afternoon, he arrived at a small coffee shop near downtown. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Soft music played in the background. Near the window sat Robert Collins, a man in his late 50s. Gray hair, calm eyes. The kind of face that seemed to carry years of experience. Robert stood and shook Daniel's hand. "Thanks for coming." Daniel sat down. For a few moments, neither spoke. Finally, Daniel asked the question on his mind. "Why did you want to meet me?" Robert smiled. "Because you're one of the most determined candidates I've interviewed in years." Daniel blinked. "Then why didn't you hire me?" Robert nodded thoughtfully. "Because someone else had slightly more experience." The answer stung, but Robert continued. "Daniel, you think rejection means you're failing." Daniel remained silent, because that was exactly what he believed. Robert leaned forward. "You're looking at this completely wrong." He pointed toward the notebook sticking out of Daniel's backpack. "You brought it with you." Daniel glanced down. His rejection notebook. Robert smiled. "I noticed you writing in it before your interview." Daniel nodded. "It's called Lessons from Rejection." For a moment, Robert simply stared at him. Then he said something Daniel would remember for the rest of his life. "Most people treat rejection like a wall." He paused. "You treat it like a classroom." Daniel listened carefully. Robert continued. "Don't stop." 3 simple words. Don't stop. The conversation lasted less than an hour. Yet when Daniel walked out of the coffee shop, the city somehow looked different. The snow seemed brighter. The future seemed possible again. Because for the first time, a successful person had looked him in the eye and seen potential. What Daniel didn't realize was that the advice from Robert Collins would soon inspire an idea that would completely change his life. And that idea would begin with a problem nobody else wanted to solve. The words stayed in Daniel's mind for weeks. Don't stop. 3 simple words. Yet every morning when he woke up, they echoed inside his head. Don't stop. Every evening after work. Don't stop. Every time doubt returned. Don't stop. Spring slowly arrived in Chicago. The snow melted. The trees began turning green. The city felt alive again. Daniel continued working at the warehouse, but something had changed. He no longer viewed himself as a failed job seeker. He viewed himself as a student. Someone still learning. Someone still growing. Someone preparing for an opportunity he could not yet see. One afternoon, a supervisor approached Daniel near the loading docks. "Can you help me with something?" he asked. Daniel nodded. The supervisor pointed towards several stacks of paperwork spread across a desk. Invoices, shipping records, inventory reports. Everything was disorganized. The supervisor rubbed his forehead. "We waste hours every week trying to find missing information." Daniel spent several minutes examining the documents. Immediately, he noticed problems. Files were stored incorrectly. Records were duplicated. Important information was difficult to locate. By the end of the day, he had created a simple spreadsheet system that organized everything. The following week, the warehouse operated more efficiently. Employees found records faster. Mistakes decreased. Managers noticed. Soon, another supervisor asked for help. Then another. Daniel enjoyed solving problems. Every challenge felt like a puzzle. Every solution felt rewarding. More importantly, he began discovering something about himself. He wasn't just looking for opportunities. He was creating value. One evening, while browsing business forums online, Daniel noticed something interesting. Small companies everywhere were struggling with similar problems. Disorganized records, poor communication, inefficient systems, lost productivity. Business owners spent countless hours fixing issues that prevented growth. Most couldn't afford expensive consulting firms. Most didn't know where to start. Daniel stared at the screen. An idea slowly formed. What if he could help them? At first, the thought seemed ridiculous. Who would hire someone who couldn't even get hired himself? The idea felt impossible, yet it refused to leave his mind. For days he thought about it. For weeks he researched. Eventually, he made a decision. He would offer his help to small businesses, not as an employee, as an independent consultant. The following Saturday, he created a simple website. Nothing fancy, just a few pages describing how he could help businesses improve organization and efficiency. Then he waited. 1 day passed, nothing. 3 days passed, nothing. A week passed, nothing. The silence felt painfully familiar. It reminded him of submitting job applications, waiting, hoping, wondering. Then, late one evening, an email arrived. A small family-owned printing company wanted help organizing its operations. Daniel read the message 3 times to make sure it was real. His first client. The following Monday, he visited the business. The owner greeted him politely, but looked skeptical. Daniel couldn't blame him. He was young, unknown, inexperienced. But once Daniel began analyzing their workflow, he immediately identified several improvements. For 2 weeks, he worked tirelessly. Long days, late nights, detailed reports, careful planning. When the project ended, the owner called him into his office. "I honestly wasn't expecting much," the owner admitted. Daniel smiled nervously. The owner slid a document across the desk. The numbers stunned him. Processing times had improved dramatically. Mistakes had decreased. Productivity had increased. The owner stood and extended his hand. "You helped us more than companies charging 10 times your fee." Daniel shook his hand. For the first time in nearly 2 years, he felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. Confidence. Real confidence. Not hope. Not optimism. Proof. Proof that he could create value. Proof that he could solve problems. Proof that he belonged. Soon, that first client recommended him to another business. Then another. Then another. Slowly, the small side project began growing. Yet Daniel still worked at the warehouse. He wasn't ready to take risks. Not yet. But life was about to force a decision he never expected. A decision that would either destroy everything he had built or become the beginning of something extraordinary. Because one phone call was about to change his entire future. By the beginning of summer, Daniel's life had become a constant race against time. At 6 o'clock every morning, he reported to the warehouse. After finishing his shift, he rushed home, grabbed a quick meal, and spent the rest of the evening helping small businesses solve problems. Most nights he worked until 2 or 3 in the morning. Then he woke up and did it all again. The schedule was exhausting. Dark circles appeared under his eyes. His body constantly felt tired. But something exciting was happening. His client list was growing. 1 company became 3. 3 became 7. 7 became 12. Every satisfied client recommended him to someone else. For the first time since graduation, opportunities were chasing Daniel instead of Daniel chasing opportunities. One evening, he returned home and found his mother sitting quietly at the kitchen table. She smiled as he entered. "You look exhausted." Daniel laughed. "I feel exhausted." His mother studied him for a moment. Then she asked a question he wasn't expecting. "Are you happy?" Daniel paused. Nobody had asked him that in a long time. He thought about it carefully. The warehouse, the consulting work, the long nights, the uncertainty. Then he smiled. "Actually, yes." His mother smiled back. "Good." The next morning, Daniel arrived at the warehouse as usual. Near the end of his shift, the manager asked him to come into the office. Daniel assumed it was a routine conversation. Instead, the manager closed the door and sighed. "The company is making cuts." A knot formed in Daniel's stomach. "We have to reduce staff." The words landed like a punch. After nearly a year of hard work, he was losing his job. The manager looked genuinely disappointed. "I'm sorry, Daniel." A few minutes later, Daniel walked out carrying a small cardboard box containing his belongings. The same warehouse that had helped him survive was now behind him. For several minutes, he sat in his car staring through the windshield. Fear began creeping into his mind. Bills still existed. Responsibilities still existed. What now? Then his phone rang. A new client. An hour later, another email arrived. Another client inquiry. Then another. Daniel looked at the messages. Suddenly, a realization hit him. His consulting work was no longer a side project. It was becoming a real business. That evening, he told his mother everything. The job loss, the fear. When he finished speaking, silence filled the apartment. Finally, his mother smiled. "I think life just made the decision for you." Daniel looked confused. "What decision?" His mother pointed toward the growing stack of client files on the table. "Stop treating your dream like a backup plan." For years, he had been waiting for someone else to give him permission to. Maybe he simply needed courage. The next morning, Daniel woke up before sunrise. He poured himself a cup of coffee and sat by the. Then he opened his laptop. At the top of a blank page, he typed 3 words. Parker Consulting Group. His own company, his own future. Over the next few months, Daniel worked harder than ever, but every challenge taught him something new. Slowly, the company began growing beyond anything he had imagined. New clients arrived every month. Referrals multiplied. Businesses that once ignored him now respected him. And then, 3 years later, something unbelievable happened. An email appeared in his inbox. The sender's name instantly froze him in place. He read it once, because the company contacting him was one of the same companies that had rejected him years ago. That evening, Daniel drove home through the streets of Chicago. Traffic moved steadily around him, but his mind wasn't focused on business. It was focused on the journey, the rejections, the failures, the doubts, the sleepless nights, the warehouse. When he arrived home, his mother was sitting on the apartment balcony watching the sunset. Finally, he handed her a small envelope deed. A deed to what? A beautiful new house stood there. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Years earlier, she had worried about paying electricity bills. Now, she owned a home purchased by the son she never stopped believing in. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Later that night, Daniel opened the old notebook that had started it all. Lessons from rejection. He slowly turned through pages. Those rejections hadn't stopped him. They had shaped. Without them, he wouldn't have grown. Daniel picked up a pen and wrote one final lesson on the last page. Rejection is not proof that you are not good enough. It is proof that your story is not finished today. Somewhere in the world, someone is being rejected. Someone is being told they aren't good enough. Someone is thinking about giving up. If that's you, remember Daniel Parker. Your rejection may not be the end of your story. It may be the beginning. Call to action. Have you ever been rejected but kept going? Share your story in the comments. And if this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more motivational stories that remind us why we should never give up.